As promised, ready to get into all of the debate. And we are also not only on the audio podcast of the Big Fight Weekend podcast, but now we are in living color with moving pictures as well on the Big Fight Weekend YouTube page. Come find this segment of the show and see what we look like via YouTube. Search Big Fight Weekend, find us, see what we look like. I am merely the somewhat competent host. He is the senior writer, bigfightweekend.com. Great to see Marquis Johns here on the video, hear you as well, but great to see you. How are you?
Pretty good, TJ. Holiday season coming up. Food in the oven already. Looking forward to it.
Yes, lots of food. Not as much boxing at the end, but lots of food, some football, etc. Dan Canobbio is also here. Good to have him back on the Big Fight Weekend podcast and YouTube roundtable version here on Big Fight Weekend. Inside Boxing Live is seen on Thursdays, not only through the internet, but also on Pluto TV. Good to have you back, Brother Canobbio.
Good to be with you guys. I don't have food in the oven, but I do have a fire going.
You got
very
the tree
real too.
This is fantastic. You got the fire on the TV. They need to come see this. You got the tree over the other shoulder. Marquis and I are in two rooms that are not decorated at all. I can't say that the house isn't decorated, but we're like the Grinch here.
I got a bachelor pad here. This looks like good, but the rest of it, you don't want to see the rest.
But all that matters is what we can see. It's big.
Exactly.
It's big time for what we can see. All right. So as I led into this, we have come to the end of 2020. My God, it's been like 3 years and one. We're just a few days at the time we're taping from surviving 2020. So congratulations, guys, up front here on this. And so let's get into it right away with talking not only fight of the year, knockout of the year, but fighter of the year. Dan is our guest, Marquis, so we will go to him first. Dan, as I share the screen for the YouTube audience, Marquis has written that he believes that this was the fight of the year, Jose Zepeda and Ivan Baranchyk from back in October. Wrote that on our site on bigfightweekend.com. I give you first dibs. Is that the fight of the year, or if it's another one, why?
It's got to be the fight of the year. I mean, if you say otherwise, it's almost disrespectful to what those two guys did in that ring. I mean, the knockdowns, the pace, 140 combined punches were landed in 5 rounds. 127 of them were power shots. 0 jabs going on in that fight. The knockdowns, there were 2 rounds in which both guys went down in the same round. The pace of it, you didn't know who was going to come out on top. It was just like 5 rounds, so like 15 minutes of pure anarchy between 2 guys that laid it all out on the line. Yeah, Baranchyk lost, but did he really though? I mean, he won so much respect from boxing fans and sports fans, and also hats off to Top Rank for making such a fight like that. You Brad Goodman, Bruce Trampler, 2 of the best matchmakers there is right now in the sport. So that right there, I think it is the fight of the year. I know that it's almost consensus to this point. And like I said, borderline like disrespectful if you didn't give it to those 2 guys, because that was probably one of the most action-packed fights we've seen in a really long time.
And I know, Marquis, you agree with that. That's why you wrote that. Just from the standpoint that each guy was down 4 times in the fight before that final closing knockdown. I can't recall as competitive a fight maybe in recent memory where each guy was down at least 4 times.
Honestly, TJ, outside of the fight last year in Russia where the guys were knocked down 10 times, but not many folks have saw that one. So in terms of the American audience, this is the fight that you see. And actually, as we had Keith Body on last week as well, you mentioned is also that if you didn't vote this fight the fight of the year, then you should challenge your vote for it. Also, they also missed one of the knockdowns as well. It should have been 5. Kenny be able to slip to the second round. So it was just bedlam. Like, it's why you watch these fights, especially for a main event like that lived up to expectations.
Well, and I loved when we talked, Dan, on this podcast to Bernardo Osuna of ESPN, who was on the call on the English version of the call for Top Rank at the bubble at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And he put it so aptly that this was completely unexpected, and it's what sports is all about, the ultimate reality TV. You weren't expecting this. There wasn't heavy buildup that this was going to be a great fight, but man, did it turn out to be a great fight, Dan.
Well, the thing is the hardcore is new. Like, maybe, us and your listeners and my listeners were like, Baranchyk he went to the World Boxing Super Series. He took out a lot of guys. He did some damage, but never really known as like a fighter. But he had to sell out. This was kind of his last shot. So he was never known as like a brawler. He was more of like a technical guy. And I honestly think that he'll go back to being a technical guy. I don't think he wants to be in those types of fights because, I had Tim Bradley on my show right the week after. He was on the call with Bernardo Osuna. And he straight up said flat out that Baranch's career is over. There's no way he'll ever recover from that. If he does, he won't, he'll be a shell of his former self. So that's like the thing about boxing that, we hear it all the time. You don't play boxing, but seriously, one night in the office can change your entire career. Baranch's only 27 years old. I could be wrong there, but not even close to being 30. But, that's a war. Hats off to both of those guys. This is what boxing's all about.
Okay, so let me add to the discussion. I realize it's 2020 and we're going all the way back to February, which almost seems like we're going all the way back to 2017, as I've joked on these podcasts. But going all the way back to February, the world heavyweight title fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, the rematch, also in Vegas. One, as we're seeing it on the screen right here, by Tyson Fury on a 7th round TKO. The heavyweights always seem to get more gravity, more publicity, etc. Do you think that if this fight had happened in the fall after the pandemic, that it would overrule the Zepeda-Barancic ultimate battle that we saw with all the knockdowns? Do you think because it was so long ago that we don't remember as much? Marquis, you first on how much consideration should Fury's win be given for Fight of the Year?
In terms of Fight of the Year, I don't know, TJ. In terms of impact in the landscape of the heavyweight division, absolutely. But just in terms of just regular, like, standard fights, it was pretty much one-way traffic. Wilder was complaining, the insert Wilder excuse here at this point. But but the one thing with that, in the fight itself, is that once Fury knocked him down the first time, he didn't look like the same guy. And for about 6.5 more rounds of it, it was just not good in terms of that. But I just really think the Fight of the Year really is Zepeda-Barancic on this.
Same question, Dan Canobbio. How much consideration should we give to the Fury 7th round KO win over Wilder, regaining a portion of the heavyweight championship?
Just thinking about this, how much recency bias plays a role in boxing. We're always talking about what happened last week. It's a week-to-week sport. We kind of forget about, some of the past fights that's happened this year. Yeah, it did happen in February, but, like Marquis said, a lot of one-way traffic. It was pretty clear from the get-go that Fury was the better man that night. And it's because he was cheating. No, I'm just kidding. It's because I'm about to tell you right now that those gloves, I was there. I felt them beforehand now. Fights like, Estrada, Juan Francisco Estrada and Carlos Cuadras, that probably was a close second because of the sheer volume, both guys going down, adversity, but it's hard. It's not a lot to choose from, but I clearly think it's Barancic Zepeda. Number 2 in my eyes is Cuadras and Juan Francisco Estrada.
Again, the voice of Dan Canobbio with us as our guest on the Big Fight Weekend podcast. If you're only hearing us, come see us. Dan hosts Inside Boxing Live as his show, big time insight into the fight game, also with the CompuBox, the punch stats. He has great insight with that, great historical perspective with that. He's a great follow on Twitter. And, of course, Marquis Johns hanging out with me, the senior writer, bigfightweekend.com. Again, if you're only hearing us on the audio podcast, however you found us, come find us on YouTube as well here on this interview as we're ending out the year talking about the Fight of the Year. And that segues us, gentlemen, to what is the knockout of the year. Most believe it's probably this shot on Halloween night that Leo Santa Cruz never saw coming. We're watching it on screen, and boom, is coming the dynamite right there from Santa Cruz, from Davis on Santa Cruz, and it was over at the Alamo Dome. Again, Dan, you're our guest. Is that the knockout of the year in your mind? If not, why not?
Yeah, it is, but it's not much of a different. Like this one is a little more contested rather than Fight of the Year, which I think is pretty consensus. This, I believe, is the knockout of the year, considering the level of type of fight it was. Pay-per-view, Gervonta Davis was looking to impress. He had a lot of pressure on him coming in, and he delivered an emphatic shot. Not to mention, it was just an outstanding shot. I broke it down, frame by frame. Leo Santa Cruz threw the same punch 3 times. You can't do that to a counterpuncher like Gervonta Davis. That third one, he was flat out cold. A close second, and I'm sure Marquis will bring this up, was Dillian White taking a tumble over there. I'm pretty sure I joined you guys that Monday after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did.
So, I mean, that was also a couple.
We're getting biblical on the Big Fight Weekend podcast. Ask and ye shall receive. Alexander Povetkin and Dillian White on the receiving end of another left uppercut. This one was a couple of months earlier in August. And boom goes the dynamite again in England in Eddie Hearn's backyard as White, again, the beached whale splat after that uppercut. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I would say this, though, guys. I would say this, that the punch of the year is by far the uppercut.
Yes.
A punch that,
right.
If you go to a fight, you hear the drunk guy scream out, uppercut, hit him with the uppercut, and they never throw it. But this year, you saw uppercuts knocking dudes out left to right. Look at Anthony Joshua just 2 weeks ago. He threw 4 uppercuts in a row to Pulev. So it's been the year of the uppercut. That's for sure. But, just to put a bow on it, I think that Gervonta Davis is by far the knockout of the year.
Marquis, do you agree that Davis's KO supplants the Povetkin uppercut of a couple of months earlier? They're both left uppercuts. Which one do you prefer?
I'm trying to go with Davis on this one with the uppercut as the knockout of the year. Let me also throw in, because it is the year of the uppercut, as Dan mentioned before, the one that Joe George threw on that Showtime card that knocked the guy off his freaking feet like Debo from the Friday movies. And that is one of my favorite ones as well. But in terms of numbers, it's Davis, Povetkin, George, and then after that you can whoever you like.
We've had some uppercuts. This is true, and a couple of them on Showtime as well, and their PBC fight coverage as we come to the end of the year. All right, the debate continues here for Fighter of the Year. I again go to Marquis Johns here in this situation, and Marquis has written on the Big Fight Weekend website here that maybe we should give some consideration to this guy who we just saw in the ring the other night. Canelo Alvarez's 2020 debut, a successful 12-round decision, dominant fight. Marquis over Callum Smith of England, previously unbeaten. Canelo looked fresh, even though the longest layoff of his career, 13 months. And you're just basically putting it out there. Why are we not considering him here at the end of 2020 for Fighter of the Year, right, Marquis?
Absolutely, TJ. And the reason why, at the time of recording this, the Ring magazine announced Tyson Fury and Teofimo Lopez as co-winners for the first time since Marvelous Marvin Hagler and
Why, there it would be right on screen as we're talking on the YouTube video roundtable. Come find us. They got co-fighters of the year, and you say it's the first time since when with Hagler and who?
Donald Curry back in '85. And the reason why they made this out, these two guys, is because Canelo fought this past weekend, and these magazines got to be out in time for Christmas. So I think they wanted to beat the rush on all of this, so they had to pick somebody. They couldn't wait on this Canelo fight in case anything fell through, i.e. COVID, Callum Smith, whatever have you. So, and but the problem is that we have Canelo fighting. He was last year's champion. He proved once again why he's the pound-for-pound best. To beat the man, you got to beat a man, and no one's beat the man yet. So to me, it's Canelo. It's that simple.
Where do you come down, Dan Canobbio, on that debate about Fighter of the Year? We haven't really mentioned Teofimo Lopez's win over Lomachenko for Fight of the Year. He dominated him over 12 rounds. There weren't knockdowns in that fight. Lopez and Fury sharing the prestigious ring honor. Where do you come down on who Fighter of the Year should be, Dan?
I do like the Ring. It is a business, and they put 2 guys because they could sell double the magazines as well. That also helps. Love everyone at the Ring. Go out and buy a digital copy if you haven't. Also respect Marquis for bringing a different viewpoint here. Fighter of the Year this year is basically Performance of the Year. Since there are only, each big fighter only fought once this year, unless you're a big-time Clay Collard fan. He was Fighter of the Year until last week where you got dethroned. In that rematch. But to me, I think it's Teofimo Lopez. If I had to choose just one, you can't go wrong with Tyson Fury because it's the heavyweight division, and an emphatic win over Deontay Wilder. But what Teofimo did against a guy that was top 3 pound for pound, a guy that everyone said that if Teofimo was going to win, it was going to be because he knocked him out. It was going to be because he just is too powerful, not because he's a better boxer. And I don't know what Lomachenko was doing in there for those first 7 rounds. Turns out he had a shoulder injury. Turns out he has his own set of excuses. But, to be honest, Teofimo boxed the boxer. He outboxed him. he just went in there, and that type of win is seismic.
Yeah, no doubt.
It changed, credence. It gave credence to this new rush of young fighters. Teofimo is leading the charge of this next generation.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he went and took it from him. There is the question mark about the shoulder injury and how apprehensive Lomachenko was for the first half of the fight, but you can't take that away from Lopez on winning. It's what debates are. It's why we love all of these different debates. Before we get out of here with Dan on the video roundtable, let me plug where we can see him, where we can find him. Again, he's a great follow on social media, on Twitter. Check him out. There he is. Look at that handsome devil right there. Inside Boxing Live. Check him out there on Pluto TV. Dan, where else can they find the show via the internet, Pluto TV, etc.?
Right, you can catch the show on our YouTube page at CompuBox TV. You can also catch it on the Fubo Sports Network. It streams every Friday night at 7. That's free over on the Fubo Sports Network. Got a big show that I'm recording tomorrow with the one and only Teofimo Lopez. We are going to go through his fighter of the year, his fight of the year. We're also, he's going to be a co-host. I told him that. He's like, Teofimo, I want you to come on the show, but I'm not going to interview you. We're going to be the co-host. I want to hear your opinions on who Canelo should fight. I want to hear your opinions on the, on Spence saying 70-30. So we'd like to do different things over on my show. So Teofimo will be the guest this week. And yeah, man, I just like to have fun. I like to say it's an unserious sport with unserious people in it. So let's just have some fun. That's my mantra.
Love the plug here at the end of the year. Go find Inside Boxing Live. Follow Dan on social media as well to find out more about that here with us. Dan Canobbio, great job. Again, if you are only listening to us, come find the YouTube page to see what Dan looks like. Find his show, Inside Boxing Live, which I know this is a little different because of the Christmas holiday coming and the New Year's Eve situation, New Year's Day. When will the show debut? The next 2 weeks to end out the year with Teofimo, et cetera? When can they find it, Dan, real quick?
The Teofimo one we'll be able to get tomorrow. You'll be able to get Wednesday. And then I might do audio only for the end of the year, depending on maybe a Ryan Garcia preview. But before I say goodbye, I want to say I love your guys' show. I listen to it every single week. You guys have great guests, very thorough. I enjoy coming on, and I thank you for the invite. And you guys I always join the program.
Hey, listen, you are tremendous to say all of that, and we want to get those plugs in for everybody to find Inside Boxing Live. Thank you for the kind words. Marquis, say goodbye to our man there, Mr. CompuBox, Dan Canobbio.
Dan, punch up the numbers, man. Thanks for coming on, man.
Of course.
We have lots of respect. Lots of respect, Dan. Thank you.